Welcome back to another episode of Storm King's Thunder. We're going to jump into our Thursday night crew, which... let's just make sure we got the things I wanted here. Oh, I was missing one of my... Shoot, missing one overlay. Oh, well. We'll get that in the next show. I thought I had it all done. Or I'll do it at the break, actually. So let's figure out where we are once again. So let's jump back over to our map, as we can see here. So this is our Thursday night crew, where in our Storm King's Thunder we have a pretty large party. And they have split up to cover a little bit more ground as the giants seem to be rampaging more, and more is going on in the world, and a way to try to not only get more information but also to gear up at the same time. We have two groups heading off on different objectives. So our Monday night group is heading to get more information, and they have headed north towards the Eye of the Allfather. They all had been in Zymorvan Hall here when we had started. And they have gone with Harshnag, who is bringing them to a oracle that the giants use. It's a legendary place that he has heard of. He believes he knows the location of it, and he's taking part of the group there to seek more information about the breaking of the ordning and what it is that can be done, and where they should be. Everybody should be focusing their energies. But also, they know that they have some pretty big battles ahead of them if they're taking on the likes of evil giants that are rampaging throughout the Sword Coast. And our group tonight, the Thursday night group, is going to follow up on a lead that Harshnag gave to them to find an artifact that will help in their fights coming ahead. So if they end up taking on the fire giants, which they've run into quite a bit, the Duke Zaltos forces, if that comes to a head, they're going to need some more firepower. They're going to need some more help taking on these pretty dangerous creatures. Plus, they may run into other giants. We don't even know yet if at this point it's just Duke Zalto, or if there's other shenanigans going around. Because we do know that when we started this whole adventure, and our adventurers were on nearly one of their first missions, they came across a devastated town from a cloud giant attack. Tribor has been attacked by fire giants. They've come across some rampaging hill giants, trolls on the road. So they've definitely ran into some other issues with other types of giants too. So the more types of gear they can get to help with their group when they go on these big battles, the better. And that's what tonight's group is going to be taking care of. So they have been given the name of a contact. So Harshnag had said before he left that there is a dwarf who is named Thorgar. Or, I'm sorry, wrong dwarf. Let me grab the right dwarf name. I know it's here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah, okay. So you have a contact who is named Yognag Anvilspine, who currently resides. He owes Harshnag a favor. Harshnag, although not clear on the details or didn't go into the actual story, had mentioned that while adventuring, he had saved this dwarf, and this dwarf owes him a favor, and that when you meet up with Yognag Anvilspine, that you're to remind him that Harshnag is calling in that favor. And he kind of gave you the knowing look of, he'll know what I'm talking about when you say that. He told you that Yognag Anvilspine is currently in Star Meadow Hills. There is a settlement. The dwarves have a small settlement in the Star Meadow Hills that are hidden, and most people don't know it's there. So he has given you the location of that. And if we look on our map, so here the audience is looking at Zymorvan Hall, where our group is. And they're going to be traveling to the west, almost straight over, mostly west, a little bit south, they will get to the Star Metal Hills. And inside the Star Metal Hills, he's given you a location, and he's kind of talked to you about how you can find it. So he's given you enough details that you guys won't have too hard of a time finding it. And in these Star Metal Hills, and maybe I can just put a dot or something out there. Let's freehand it out, and we'll put a nice little easily definable purple dot. How about that? And so we'll put it right here. So hidden amongst these hills, these dwarves have done a very good job of keeping their settlement hidden from outside eyes, and they are typically left alone for the most part. You guys are going to travel there. The reason you're going to travel there is that Harshnag believes that Yognag knows information about where you can find a lost artifact from the days of the Giants' kingdom. And so it should be some type of... Now, Harshnag didn't know exactly what the artifact was. He just knew that Yognag had knew about it, or at least where to find a place that holds these type of artifacts, and that if you guys could recover that, it certainly would help in the coming fights with all of the rampaging giants. So he didn't know exactly what it was, but he was sure it was going to help out if you were able to recover it. The group that went to the north left yesterday, and this is going to be taking place on the next day. And you had been talking to in Zymorvan Hall. You'd been talking to Captain Winrow and I really should put all these names on the same page so I don't have to go through all my notes to find them, because it's like 3 pages different when you met them. Glavrin Bitterbow. So Glavrin Bitterbow was a Harper contact that the group had met in Silvery Moon, and it escorted them back to Zymorvan Hall to try to retake it back when the giants had attacked it. With them came 5 scouts, 50 mounted knights, and 50 foot soldiers from the Silvery Moon guards. And in charge of that group was Knight Captain Shalana Winrow. So Captain Winrow and Glavrin Bitterbow are here in Zymorvan Hall with that force. That force is camped currently inside the bailey, inside the walled structure of Zymorvan Hall, all in tents and such. They have offered, knowing that you're going to be traveling quickly and knowing that you're not trying to attract attention, they have offered the services of they asked for volunteers, and they had a couple come forward, and then Glavrin and Winrow looked at those volunteers, and they felt the best choice to go on this expedition with you was Tove, who is she is one of the knights of Silvery Moon. So they felt that she had the most experience to be able to help you out, and so she has gathered her gear, and she is wearing let's see, can I show you a picture of Tove? I bet I can. Let's add a handout. We'll call it Tove. So it's Tove, pronounced Tove. And let's grab a picture. There we go. And who can see that? Probably everybody. So all players. Save changes. So this is Tove. We'll put that down in handouts, which is probably at the bottom of the screen, isn't it? No? Oh yeah, player handouts way down there. That makes it tougher. Okay, player handouts. Come on, let me in there. Open it up. There we go. So you guys have a handout for Harshnag, and you should have a handout for all players. Save changes. There we go. How about now? So you should be able to see what Harshnag kind of looked like, and now you should see what Tove looks like.
We can.
All right, cool.
Jarral is smitten.
Plate armor, human, great sword strapped to the horse, and also carries a short bow. And then hazard gear. Already you can see the sleeping blanket and kit on the back of her saddle. They've offered you fresh horses if you did not have them, although I think this group had their horses. I think Jarral and Ardreth have had horses the whole time, so you guys have horses. And I think Edrim has declined a horse because he's usually in beast form of some sort, I think. And tell me if that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. The other reason you're waiting for to leave today is another contingent of guards have come. You were here in case any of the giants had come back to attack, and they had given supplies like food and such to the other group, which had depleted everything that they had. And then this other group that came in this morning brought in fresh supplies. You guys are able to go ahead and stock rations as you wish. So they are allowing you to go over to the supply wagon and grab rations. And you can grab what you think you want to carry.
I'll restock up on my arrows and also get some food rations for the trip.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead and how many are you going to take? I'm going to go ahead and write it down on your character sheet.
Yeah, I'll update that one. I just got to get back to 40, so.
And you do
I don't need too many.
You have a rough estimate of... It's about a 12-day journey, give or take, depending on, obviously weather, what you run into on the way. But it's going to be about a 12-day journey overland. You thought you had discussed with Harshnag about, well, if you go overland to the west, it's about 12 days. As kind of a crow flies, you'll be on the road for a little bit, but then you'll be kind of cross-country for a bit through the Subrin Hills, past Long Saddle, and then into the Star Meadow Hills. There was thought given to maybe going back down to Everlund, taking one of the teleport circles, but then that really puts you either very far north in Mirabar or quite a bit. The only other place you could get to would have been Waterdeep, Mirabar, or something way south. So it actually would have ended up being more time to do all that backtracking. So in this case, the overland trip, the 12-day trip, and if you're moving at a pretty good pace, heading west seems to be the quickest route. Now, you guys are up to you how you actually want to go, but that was what Harshnag was able to provide to you in information. As far as if Jarral probably has his maps updated of this area, and so he would have pointed on the map that you had of where in Star Meadow Hills. So on your map, you can kind of tell where that's at too. So
cross country works for me.
Yeah, I think that covers everything. Now we're into the wintry months, so it is cold at the moment. No snow on the ground at the moment, but those types of weathers are coming eventually. And I think that has got everybody caught up, and we're ready. So you guys are you're all kind of sitting around. It's probably the morning of. The sun has just risen. You're seeing, you see guards walking along the walls of Zymorvan Hall's exterior. You see camp kind of coming to life. People starting to cook fires being lit. You see people tending to horses and cleaning horses and taking care of gear. You see some groups that were just coming back in from the night watch and are probably starting to turn in camp-wise. You also hear the racket of the arriving supply train of supplies, and you've already kind of went over, grabbed what you've needed. You've been given permission to grab whatever you need from that basic supply stuff. You see Tovi is armored, standing next to her horse, holding the reins and bridle, looking at you, kind of staying apart from you a tiny bit, but attentive to see when you guys are ready to leave. And that's kind of how we start the morning in Zymorvan Hall with the group. So what would the group like to do?
So, excuse me, among the supplies, does that include like clothing and stuff?
Looking through the wagons, it looks like it's food. It's weapons, sort of like ammo stuff. So arrows, repair supplies for weapons. There are probably, I don't think there's going to be, they all have uniforms on. They're all of a guard. So you're not seeing like miscellaneous clothes or anything in the supplies.
Okay. So, just for continuity, I guess. So Jarral, when he came back up to Zymorvan Hall, would he have felt the cold coming in? Like, would he have had a chance and said, "All right, I'm gonna buy some cold weather gear," or is that something that he should look to do on the way to Star Meadow Hills?
Well, I assume you guys have the type of gear that you need, that you've been traveling around in. As far as if you want some type of additional, then yeah, you'd want to definitely purchase. The other group ended up purchasing furs and such in Rivermoot, but they were heading much further north, and they were going into the teeth of not only the winter, but heading north into like basically a snow and ice scape. You guys aren't going that far north, so cloaks are probably fine, but you definitely could purchase more cold weather gear if you felt like you needed to.
Okay, I'll do that when we get to a town on the way.
Okay. All right. So anything else?
So in addition to the supplies, so you said there's like weapons and things.
Yes.
Is there like additional darts?
You do not see darts. That's
Don't
not
see
something
darts.
that they seem to carry. You're seeing
Okay.
arrows, bowstrings. You're seeing equipment to fix swords and shields and leather and straps on armor. You're seeing plenty of stuff that handles taking care of the horses. Plenty of food for the horses, plenty of food for the camp, fresh water, barrels and that kind of stuff. So, and there are some supplies to begin rebuilding Zymorvan Hall, but you're not seeing anything exotic. So it's not like there's stacks of scimitars or there's stacks of. They don't use crossbows, so you don't see a bunch of crossbows. It's just the stuff that they typically use at the Silvery Moon Guard.
Okay, so it's more like repair things as opposed to like full weapons.
Yeah. The soldiers bring their kit, but the supply wagons brought additional stuff to make repairs if something were to break, type thing. Additional ammo for their bows, that kind of thing.
Okay, so there are arrows, but not
Yep.
in quivers, or are there quivers as well?
They're more stacked up as they're basically crates or barrels of arrows, and then they come and resupply the stuff that they carry from these larger containers, so they can carry more at once.
So is Edrim or Ardreth, do you guys have range attacks?
I've got a couple of different ones. I've got my bow, but then I've also got the thunder clouds I can do, and I've got Eldritch.
Okay.
And I have javelins and a bunch of spells.
All right, then I will grab what's typically in a quiver, like 10 arrows or something.
No, I think it's quite a bit more than that. I think a
Oh,
quiver
is it?
holds maybe 30, 20 or 30. Brian, what do you think?
I've got 40 in mine. I think 30 or 40 is about what you'd probably have.
Yeah,
All right.
that sounds about right to me.
All right, then I'm gonna grab 20 crossbow bolts. Do they have those?
Nope, they unfortunately just have arrows. They're all using bows.
All right, then I'm not gonna grab anything.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have the monk weapon train.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, it's up to you guys what you want to do. You tell me.
Jarl's got what he needs and is ready to go. He's just gonna, wait on Edrim and Ardreth to see what they need before we head out.
I just needed to make sure that my horse had some food, and I did as well, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, likewise. I didn't need much.
Yeah, so you see, you guys are giving each other the look of everybody's ready, and Tove kind of sees that same look, and you see her mount, and prepare to ride.
Okay,
She's kind of following. She's not leading, but she's following where you guys are going.
Are we? So we're going cross country. Do we have we agreed on a direction? So, all right. So Jarl's gonna kind of show the map that he's got of the area that he's compiled, which will look something similar to what we're looking at on the screen. So, what direction do we wish to approach Star Metal Hills? Should we go through Rivermoot, through Nesme, or just cut right across the country?
Well, I think Rivermoot to Nesme might be ideal. Then we could follow that trail to the Serpent Hills.
Works for me.
Okay, then let us set out. So Jarl will volunteer to be the scout. And he'll, I guess, I don't know, lead the party by maybe, I don't know, what did Ian lead
100
by?
yards or something.
Was it 100 yards? Okay, so I'm probably not going to go. I'll probably go, yeah, about 100 yards. So football field, yeah. So I'll lead the party. I'll be kind of keeping an eye out for things that could possibly be ambush or anything like that.
Okay. So
And I usually take up the rear.
About 100 yards out. Now, just riding your horse on the road, or how are you doing this?
I think we're all traveling on a horse, so yeah, it would be on the road.
No, almost all of you.
But you're traveling in animal form, right? Or are you traveling in person form?
Nope, as a lion shape.
Lion, okay.
And I'm going to be kind of strolling around the group.
Okay, so then it's just Ardreth and Tove 100 yards back from Jarral, and then go ahead and describe. So let's describe the scene at least once so we know that of the 12 days, what it typically looks like. So we see Jarral ride off about 100 yards, and then we see Ardreth and Tove begin. So they're riding side by side or single column. What do you think, Ardreth?
I'll ride next to her and try to talk to her.
Okay. So we see that, and then go ahead and tell us what Edrim's doing then, now that we have Jarral 100 yards up, and the two riding side by side have just started to move forward along the road.
Edrim in line form is basically just circling the group. So he'll go out maybe 100 yards, a couple hundred yards, something like that on either side. If he gets a chance, he will try to pick up some small game. And otherwise, just trying to be aware of any more giants that are heading our way.
Okay. And so, Jarral, go ahead and give me a 1d6 roll, just a basic old 1d6. All right. As you begin
Wow,
to
that was
travel, the rain starts. It's cloudy overhead, so the sun is blotted out, and you guys are being rained on for your first day. Good roll.
Always
Sorry.
a good way to start a journey.
Good roll. All right.
It can only get better from here.
Yeah. So basically, what ends up happening is typically your guys will travel, but you'll cover about 21 miles a day, unless you push for some reason or wish to travel further. But this is like about an 8-ish hour day. Then you would make camp, and you would get about somewhere right around 21-ish miles each day. If you push, what we do is we start making some Constitution saving throws, and then if you fail, you start to get levels of exhaustion. It starts out, exhaustion's not too bad if you miss one of them, but they start stacking up pretty quickly, and by the time you get to 2 or 3 levels of exhaustion, it starts to get pretty bad. So keep that in mind as you go. And this is a pace in which you're going to not push your horses unless absolutely needed. So it's more about saving a decent walking pace to make good time on this long journey, but also not taxing your horses in case you have to try to make some type of escape or try to make some type of run, that the horses will be able to do that. If you were try to go with a quicker pace, you could tire them out pretty quickly, and then you might not have the burst of speed or their ability to run, 3 days from now if you've been pushing them the whole time. So 21 miles, we get to our first couple days, and the first couple days go pretty quickly. Nothing happens. Let's go to the first night. You guys get to pretty much this spot. So let's move our token. You guys get to about here.
Would we have had any discussions with the other party just to kind of get an idea of how, what their sense of urgency is?
That they're heading north. Harshnag believed their journey was somewhere around 12 days to the north. Is what he thought it would take them to get to where he believes the Eye of the Allfather is.
Okay, so I guess within the party then, are we looking to match that time frame or be back before them?
It's up to the party.
I wasn't in a huge rush to force the horses.
I mean,
'Cause that's what I'm
it's gonna take them
thinking.
12 days to get to the Eye of the Allfather.
Yeah, it'll take us about 10, I would think, something like that, to get to Star Meadow Hills. Assuming we cut across the Serban Hills.
Your journey's right about the same. So it's right about a 12-day travel to the Star Meadow Hills, the place that you're going in the Star Meadow Hills, somewhere right around 12 days.
Okay, so the estimate that they gave for 12 days to go to the spine, I mean, is that just a normal pace, or is that like pushing?
They went I don't think they pushed. I think they was just their traveling pace. But they have a ranger with them too,
Okay, then
which
I
makes things different.
I agree with Ardreth. Just unless Edrim, if you have any thoughts, I think just kind of going on a normal pace unless something happens.
It's okay with me. I'm sure if there's an emergency, they will use the sending stones to those.
Oh yeah, forgot about those.
Yep, you do have ascending stones that you can use. Basically, and who has that of your group? Because that'll be important to know.
Not me.
For some reason, I think I do.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I do. I have the one. It's just one, right? It's just one sending stone.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Yeah, so typically the way they work is there is a rune on the stone itself that you touch and say a command word, then the other stone will vibrate, letting the person know who's holding the other stone that you're trying to communicate with them, and then they have to touch the rune and say a command word, and then communication can start.
Okay.
And I forget who has it, but I want to say probably Ian has it.
That sounds right.
If she's listening, she can tell us in chat. And I see we had a couple of people that are watching tonight also. We've done a search for another player that will be joining you guys. I'll tell the audience too. And we'll be kind of making that announcement probably after tonight's session. Who we chose, and we'll be getting them into the game pretty quickly. In fact, that brings one other thing that Glavrin Bitterbow had mentioned to you before you left Zymorvan Hall, that he asked that once you completed your mission in Star Meadow Hills, if you would check into his Harper contact in Longsaddle, which is the first town that's right there next to where you guys are going to be. If you check in with Thorgar the dwarf, he's a dwarven smith at Longsaddle, to go ahead and give him an update so that the Harpers kind of know how successful you guys have been, and that they have put out a call to other Harper agents that are in the area that may volunteer to help you guys with your mission. But he didn't think he could get them to travel there and meet you before you were finished. So he felt like he could get, a few candidates there, or a few people to show up after you guys got done with your mission and headed over to Longsaddle.
Okay.
Forgive me asking this question. Are either of you guys members of Harper?
Nope.
I am not.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys know that Finn is, and you know that I believe Finn and Coffee were your guys' Harper contacts originally. That's how you guys met Glavin Bitterbow.
Yeah, I knew at least one person was a Harper. I just couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And having done met with those contacts, that they have given you some of the Harper resources, like the use of the teleportation circles, and so that's why you guys have a handout. Should have a handout that shows you, the circles, which are the different teleportation circles that you can use when needed. You guys have permission to use those Harper circles. Cool. All right, so we've got our first day of travel, so we've got a good idea of what travel looks like. So it's a lot of 100 yards up is right at the edge of probably, depending on the hills or how the road is, that they mostly can see probably Jarral up in front of them. Every now and then you might lose sight of them for a minute or two, but then it comes back into sight when you come over a crest of a hill, or the gentle slope of the elevation of the road, or even a curve in the road. You constantly see in different intervals the lion shape of Ardreth, or of Edrim, making kind of concentric circles around and in the. This is mostly like a hilly plains kind of area that you're traveling on the road here. You've also noticed that there's been no traffic heading west. You've not seen anybody else. You've not seen wagons. You've not seen anybody heading east or west to Rivermoot or coming from Rivermoot. And it's been raining, so it's kind of been a drizzly day. And you guys make your first camp a day out from Zymorvan Hall. You probably have another day's travel, and you'll hit Rivermoot towards the evening, probably towards the end of the next day. And you go to make camp. So let's talk at least one time to go. Let's do one camp so that we at least know what this will look like. So who finds the campsite? Is it who's looking for it? Is it Jarral's looking for it, or is it Edrim's looking for the campsite, or is it Ardreth is saying, "Hey, you guys need to stop. We're ready." What's your group doing?
I'm crying from the back. Slow down.
every hour or so, I think Jarral's going to come back to the group and just kind of check in and just kind of give him what he's seen. And then, during those hours, we can, talk about, things like, let's think about having a camp and who's going to look for that stuff. So we can discuss that.
Yeah, feel free. I'm ready to hear it. Our audience would love to know.
Do you want me to? Would you like me to scout ahead for a campsite, or do you have? And Jarl's gonna look
dry,
to.
And I have a good place to rest my head. I will trust you.
And Jarl's still kind of new to Edrim, so he's gonna kind of look at him questioningly as to see if he has any preference, if he wants to search for the campsite. I don't know what needs a lion would have.
How would a lion respond?
First, he'd start with a slight pause.
Yep.
A couple of them?
At least 4.
Essentially, he would try to get across the idea of indifference. If Edrim saw you heading back, he would make sure he was somewhere within listening range. But he doesn't express any preference one way or the other.
Okay, so Jarl's gonna see. I guess he's gonna see Edrim. I guess just kind of sit down on the ground and just kind of sort of nod toward Ardreth to indicate, whatever. So he's gonna take that as that he'll scout ahead. So so Jarl will scout ahead and look for an appropriate campsite as it gets a little past around dusk.
Yeah. So you guys find a suitable campsite, and you guys are pulling over for the evening.
This is all like open area, right?
Pretty much. I mean, you will see little patches of trees, nothing that you would call a forest, but it would be more of like, a grouping of trees together. So maybe it's like, a small group of 20, but then you might pass a group of 10, you might pass a group of 50, then another small group here and there, sometimes north of the road, not much south of the road. The river is south of you. You can probably hear it at times, although the road doesn't get too close to it. It's warmer to the south. One of the things keeping it warmer is the heat trapped in the Evermoors. And you're seeing the cold, icy hills of the Frost Hills to the north of you. And it's kind of like rolling plains. Everything is that really brittle, kind of dried out grass as it's now turned to fall, similar to like outside at this like outside here in Michigan at this point.
No
And
snow?
no snow, no actual snow, but it's raining. It has been raining, so the road has gotten a little muddy here and there. And then you guys will find a place to go ahead and set up camp. Probably a copse of trees, where you can camp underneath, that type of thing.
Yeah, he's gonna look for a set of trees that's got thick enough foliage at the top just to kind of provide some dry protection on the ground.
Yeah, so we won't do it every single time, but tell us a little bit about you guys making camp. So who goes and does what? Like you're making camp, what does your character do as camp is being made? And what are you guys going to do as far as throughout the night?
Well, Edrim, as we're approaching the campsite, would spend a little bit of time trying to find some game somewhere. Save on rations a little bit. So he might actually show up maybe half an hour after everybody else arrives.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and do a survival check to see how well you did on your hunting and providing for food.
Can I use Keen Smell instead?
Let's see. Yeah, I guess it could. I think it could be a. Well, survival is not just about finding it. It's also about getting it, tracking it, because you might come across tracks or you might come across the actual thing, and then it might smell you or see you and take off. So the survival check's really about were you able to capture something and how many of those things, more than it is, were you able to see something. So I think it would be a survival check. And yeah, you nailed it. So actually, on this first day, you were able to bring back enough stuff to feed everybody. So you can even describe what you found out in the plains, and you were able to bring back enough of it that everybody could not even have to use rations. They could just use what you brought back.
So this is somewhere around late fall. Is that correct?
The beginning of fall.
The beginning of fall. Okay. Let's say he finds like a juvenile buck.
Yeah.
And chases it down in the grass. Manages to pounce on it and haul it back to the campsite.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys see Edrim bringing some dinner back.
Oh, and on that note, I will start preparing a good fire for it.
Jarral will see him coming back, and he'll be kind of in the process of organizing his camp area with his role, and he's going to, as he's kind of reaching toward his rations, he's gonna see the lion coming back with dinner, and he's kind of gonna give Ardreth a look, and just kind of point a thumb over, and I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
Looks like we'll eat well tonight.
Indeed.
Yeah, and you guys will see Tove is taking care of the horses. So she's pulling the saddles off, brushing the horses down after the ride. It looks like she's preparing the feed. She seems to be very meticulous about the horse, and you can tell that her and her horse are have definitely been together for a long time, have trained together. Her horse is a very well-trained war horse compared to your guys' riding horse, and it's you can just tell the training in it, the breeding in it. It's a pretty high quality, and you can tell that she knows quite a bit about animal care and that part of it. You also see her cleaning armor. Once that's done, she sits down near the fire that's been made by Ardreth, and still quiet, still watches you guys more than you notice. She's not really watching surroundings. She's watching more your guys' interaction and who you are, and she's cleaning armor and weapons from the rain and the snow, oiling things. And
Is she talkative when we try to talk to her?
yeah, if she answers direct questions, but you get the impression that she just doesn't, engage in in chatting, and she definitely never has throughout the whole day so far. She has never started a conversation. So like when you were right next to her, and if you brought something up or you asked something, she probably answered it in maybe 1 or 2 words, whatever would be the minimum of politeness, but definitely not chatty, definitely not over embellishing, definitely not somebody who is speaking a lot, as far as you know. So in your guys' company at this point so far, she's been quiet, she answers, but she doesn't necessarily initiate conversation. But she will answer questions and stuff if you guys were engaging her in some way.
Jarral won't be initiating any discussion. He will kind of keep an eye on. He's not used to either Edrim or Tove, so he's just gonna observe, just to kind of get an idea of their mannerisms and personalities, just from observation.
All right, so the regular camp goes as you guys have your meals, the fire's going. It is definitely that time of year where it would be a very rough night if you did not keep a fire going. So keep that in mind. You guys you're well enough traveled to know how to keep the fire mostly out of sight. It's not as big a deal, but you definitely need the warmth, or it would be pretty difficult survival wise if you weren't using fires and trying to travel for 12 days that way. But you're able to hide it enough that you don't think it'll give you away, type thing, for the most part. As everybody's kind of sitting around and dinner is done, Tove kind of looks to each of you as you're finishing your meals. At this point, Edrim, have you changed back, or have you stayed in lion form during all of this?
No, he changed back once he back to.
Okay, yeah. So she's looking at each of you, and then she kind of raises an eyebrow and then says, "Shall I take watch, or is that something you adventurers have covered in some way?"
Feel free to take one of the watch shifts. I usually take the last one.
And I usually take the overnight one.
I really do not have a preference, other than I would appreciate a little bit of rest before I took a watch.
Okay, yeah. So she kind of nods quietly, and then she places a few of the pieces of armor that she had been cleaning back on, straps them back on. You can see the great sword that she carries that's kind of next to her at all times, and the bow that's across her back. And then she nods and she says, "I will certainly take the first watch. Who shall I wake when the time has come?"
I would suggest waking Edrim.
Edrim nods. That's fine with him.
Okay, so we've got Tove, we've got Edrim. The first night's going to go by with nothing, so we're just basically setting up the general mood of how this goes for most nights. So Tove it wakes up Edrim. Edrim wakes up Jarral. Then is it kind of what it sounded like?
Yeah. Yep.
And then we finish off with Ardreth. All right, perfect. So that and no reason to change that. That'll probably be your normal.
That works for me.
Okay, perfect. So we've got that set. So we kind of have a good idea, and I think this is good. What we'll do is we're going to take our first 5-minute break here in just a moment. but we've got a good visual of our group that is traveling along the road in a rainy, early fall day, chilly and cold. At the end of it, they set up a camp where they can warm up, clean their gear, have a meal that was captured by the luck of Edrim, and they go through their watches as normal. They're vigilant during their watches. Nothing seems to happen at this point, and then when we come back from our break, we'll go ahead and continue on our traveling. But I think we've got a good basis for how this group will look as they travel, so that we can kind of skip over some more of these as we go. We don't have to go each day, taking up an hour to do it. So, all right, guys, great job. We've got a good head start on this so far. It's feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead and do our 5-minute break, and then we'll come right back. For those of you in chat, don't go too far. We've got a lot of game coming up, and it's going to be pretty fun. So we'll see you in just a little bit. All right, we're back and we're heading back into the action. So, uneventful evening. Let's have Edrim roll a 1d6 for us today. See how our weather is going to be. All right. Continued rain.
More of the same.
Clouds darkened overhead.
I was going to say, kind of a morning ritual Edrim has.
Sure.
He has a big quarterstaff, which is actually his focus. And so every morning he uses Druid craft a couple of times. Once to enliven the ivy that's wrapped around his staff, which is living ivy, and the second for forecasting the weather. So he finds like a little depression in the ground or in a rock, pours a little bit of water in there, and gets an image of what the weather's going to be for the day.
Yeah, and it is. It looks like it's going to rain throughout the day. It'll be a steady drizzle, not a hard rain. The temperature will stay probably somewhere in the 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the day, and it'll stay cloudy. You won't see it'll be a darker kind of day.
Okay.
While we're eating, I guess the meal as we're kind of packing up the camp, Jarral is going to just kind of ask some questions of Tove, just to kind of get an idea of what her background has been.
Yeah. So what do you ask her?
So I know you were assigned to us. Can you tell us a little bit about what your duties have been in the past as a knight? Is she? I guess she was serving under Captain Winrow.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. She says, yes, I'm a knight of Silvery Moon, part of one of the guard groups that will travel around the different villages, farms, ranches in the outskirts of Silvery Moon, and we do patrols. We usually do 2 to 3 day patrols before we have 2 or 3 days off, and then we go back on to 2 or 3 days of patrols. And she's tells you that she's been a knight now for the last 10 years. She's been a knight, and before that she was a squire, and before that she worked in the stables for the guard in Silvery Moon. So she's always been around the guard, even as a child, and has kind of worked her way up into becoming a knight of Silvery Moon.
So Jarral's gonna sound more impressed than I guess he is. He's just trying to fish for information just to kind of get an idea of, can I rely on this person in combat? So he's gonna sort of indicate that he's impressed. And so what does it take to become a knight? What are the requirements?
Sure. And so you're not impressed, right? so you're trying to sound impressed, though you are not. Is that correct?
I'm not unimpressed, but yeah.
I'm fishing to see, do we need to make a roll here, or
probably, I guess, yeah.
Because if it's a deception of some sort, I want to know if she'll pick up on it or she may not.
It's not so much a deception, but it's more he's asking the questions and kind of trying to get more information out of her as to what he's trying not to offend, but at the same time find out like what are your qualifications.
Yeah, so let's go the route of more, because you're being polite about it. You're not being. So I would say that's more of like a persuasion roll.
Okay.
It's not like an intimidation roll or a interrogating kind of thing. I think that'd be a persuasion roll. All right, so you're in your mind. This conversation's going on, but you're hearing the words come out a little awkwardly, and you're just realizing that, that's not what I meant. And you can kind of see the look on her face of, your awkwardness is showing through, right? So even though you know what you want to say, you know where you're trying to go, it's just the words just aren't working as well as you wanted them to. And she kind of she responds in she would say to you, probably in a pretty stern voice, which might be the first time anybody's heard it. Not loud, not angry, but stern, and kind of looks you very directly, very piercing eye look of, I spend day in and day out in armor, riding and fighting from saddle. I live, breathe the sword and the bow. And working with my unit. It is no easy task, she says, and looks at you, to be a knight of Silvery Moon, I can assure you. And you adventurers have definitely a reputation that most folks would see. Most adventurers have kind of the stereotype of being bombastic, of being brash, of being... They are courageous almost to the point of stupidity at times. People, like regular farmers and stuff, will look at you guys and wonder why you risk your lives doing the craziest stuff you do. Like, only adventurers get their heads bitten off by giants, or, it's only adventurers that tangle with dragons. No sane person would go and try to tangle with a dragon or a Draco Lich or something like that, So even though you guys haven't portrayed any of that, that's kind of like the stereotype that you're held against most of the time until your actions prove otherwise. When they hear your adventures, and you guys look like adventurers, right? Because you don't look like just normal citizens of the Sword Coast. You don't look like farmers or ranchers or even guards for caravans or anything. You guys are decked out in weapons, exotic looking armors and in clothing, abilities far beyond, the normal person that you might run into. And you're kind of a drow. You have the look of the drow elf, even though you're kind of half drow, half regular elf. Edrim is he half elf?
Just human.
Oh, Edrim's human. So, so when she sees you, you have that look of being, a person. But then Ardreth is half elf, right?
I am.
Yeah. So, adventurers are always like that. Adventurers are always kind of a little more exotic than the normal person. And so she says it in such a way to make sure you're not demeaning her abilities, even though she knows adventurers are usually capable of quite wondrous abilities and skills and equipment. They'll have just crazy things that just the normal person won't have. But she also is trying to convey in her sentence to you and in what she has said that she believes her training to be of a superior military type training.
Okay. So Jarral's just going to raise his hand and just lean back a little bit and just say, understood. And then he's going to kind of lean in toward her and look her, as directly in the eye as she gave him and say, you must understand, our party has been split. When I left, we were 6. And now there were 7. And I'm with one person that I have experience with and 2 that I do not. I need to know that I can trust you in battle.
Yeah, and you see her kind of grip the sword a little bit and really doesn't flinch from you at all. And
he's just gonna walk away.
yeah.
He's just
Well,
that he
she'll
just
say
wanted to make his
even
point.
to your back. She'll say, you'll hear her say to your back as you go, my sword can always be counted on. And then kind of trails off as you
I
go.
count on that. He'll just kind of say that without even looking back.
Sure. All right.
But he didn't. He wasn't trying to convey any hostility or anything. He's just I'm making my point and my discussion's over.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else before we move on for the day?
I'll just sort of watch as he goes about this effort.
Okay. Yeah, you see and hear, that's right there in camp. So you see and hear all. Maybe Edrim's out at this point. I don't know. He might be around.
He's still nearby, but he's going through his morning ritual.
Yeah, so you probably don't even overhear the conversation. But okay, so you guys break camp. You set up. You travel again throughout the day, as our typical group would, and you know that you're getting closer to Rivermoot, and that if you just maybe continue another hour or so, that you'll get there without having to stop and try to set up camp so close to Rivermoot. You're seeing out in the distance, and Edrim probably sees this. Jarral probably is the first one to see these kinds of things, where you see ranches that start to show up, a few farms, and they're kind of interspersed. They you don't really see anybody out and about. It's a cold day. It's a rainy day. You might pick up the signs of like smoke coming from chimneys here and there. And then you're starting to see the signs that you're getting closer and closer to Rivermoot. And then you come to where Rivermoot is, and you can see that the town is lit up as far as, different buildings and shops and inns and taverns and things have. You can see lights in the windows, and people have their fires going. You can smell the smoke of the burning wood from, everybody's fireplaces going at this point. One thing that stands out to you about Rivermoot is that all of the buildings that you come to, they're all on stilts. And it's clear that during the wet season and during the spring, that this place can flood quite often. It's in between two parts of these rivers that can flood quite a bit, and it's a much lower elevation that you guys have been traveling, so you've actually kind of gone down in elevation some, and you can tell that this is like a floodplain that they have this town on, that and all of these buildings are up on stilts, and there's like elevated walkways that go to all of the buildings and such. Right now there's no water there. It's all dry currently. It's not in the season where it floods, but you can tell that it's a pretty regular thing that happens here. You see lots of fishing boats and stuff tied up. You can tell it's a big fishing community, along with a few farms back out down the Ralvin Road. And so yeah, you guys come in right about as sun's going down. It's starting to get a little dark. You got a little bit of light left. It's been raining all day, and you're able to find a room and stable for the horses. The rooms are pretty standard fare. It's, if you want your own room, it's like it'd be 5 silver a night, and if you want to share a common room, then there's a big common room where there's like a bunch of bunks there's like 10 on against the wall and a 10 against the wall, and they've got a little foot locker there where you can put your gear. If you want to stay in that room, it's only 1 silver a night. If you want your own room, it's a 5 silver. Comes with a meal. Go ahead.
Get my own room.
Okay.
I'll just take a comment.
Okay. Yep. So go ahead and mark off from that. Each of the rooms that you do get come with the meal for that evening. So again, you guys have done pretty good. You haven't had to use any of your rations at this point.
Continental breakfast.
Yeah. And then It'll be a pretty uneventful evening. You could certainly can. It's a regular town if there's anything you need to do in town before heading out, or if you're just going to stop in, get a good night's sleep, and then head out early. But what's the group going to do? I will say that Tove takes the horses and goes to the stable, does all the, cleans the horses and puts away the riding gear, makes sure everything's stocked. She tips the stable hand.
Sure, go with her
and
just double check the horses himself. She's working.
Sure, she gives you kind of an askance look as you double check her work. But she says nothing as that happens.
We're all getting off on a great foot with her.
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
Hey, I haven't talked to her yet, so I haven't ruined it.
It's all right. We've done the talking for you.
Well, while they're in the stables, Edrim would take a look at some of the other horses, see if they're all in fairly healthy shape.
Yeah. It seems like you don't see anything out of place. You don't see any horses that don't seem to be in a good shape. Everything seems normal, or not even normal, but the horses seem fine. You don't see any horses with any injuries or outstanding wounds or anything like that.
Okay.
So as we were approaching from during the day, traveling on the road, how close were we to the river? Like, would we have had a good view of the river? Not
until you got right into Rivermoot. That's where you can kind of see the confluence of the two rivers. So you're seeing the Ralvin and the Subrin come together. But on the road is usually probably at least a mile away, typically from the river. So you wouldn't have really seen it.
Do we have
on the road? Would
we have a good sense from where they meet as to how big those rivers are?
Yeah, they're pretty good sized river. In fact, Rivermoot has a ferry that will probably take you guys across the river and put you on the other side. Obviously for a fee, but the ferry's big enough to bring the horses and passengers across, and then you guys will be able to continue on from there. You'll have to figure out what you do after that. But there is a crossing ferry here.
So where is Rivermoot then, the actual town? Is it on the north side of the river? Of the
No,
Subrin?
it's right in the...
Oh, okay. I got you. Is there a reason to go to the other side? Like, is there anything over there?
I have no idea which way you guys are going. They can put you on either side of the river you need to go. You have to go somewhere because there's river all around you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to... So Jarral's kind of thinking
we should stay on the northwest side of opposite the swamp. Although, do we head to Nesme on the way there? Or Shining White?
So I'm thinking we go to Nesme, but it might be easier to secure river travel. Like, secure a boat or something that can carry the horses and us. Because I don't believe, and these kind of references maps, I don't believe there's a road between Rivermoot and Nesme.
I would find either path agreeable.
The one thing you did know, Harshnag would have mentioned that you would want to make a very wide berth around, or you would not want to go to Shining White, but realize that this is also a big map. So like even just a few miles is making a wide berth around it. But Shining White is Uthgard barbarian stronghold kind of area, so you'd want to make sure you're not going. So Shining White would not be a destination for sure, but just so you know, same with the Griffin's Nest. Those are two areas that are controlled by the barbarians that you would make sure you did not go near.
So, so I guess Jarl's kind of going to suggest that we, all get together in the evening, where we're all staying, and if we're all staying in the same place, and we can, talk about it over over dinner or beverage or something like that, just to kind of discuss what the plan is for the next day. Because we have to figure out how to get how are we getting to Star Meadow Hills? We know we're now at Rivermoot, but what is the best route to take? We've got some options of where we shouldn't go. So what is the best option of where we're going to go? Because we could cut right across, here, or we could just follow the river down to, Mornbryn Shield and cut across the short part of the Subran Hills, and then
Yeah, I wonder. What if we hit Nesme on the way and then go to Mornbryn Shield?
yeah. So that if we do that, what is the fastest way to do that? Down the river, or should we take the road from Nesme, or I think
Oh,
we
you're
probably
thinking like a river transport?
yeah. I mean, it's probably something we can ask around town in the morning. What's the best way to get down there?
It makes sense. Rest the horses along the way.
Yeah. And it could be faster.
Edrim listens and nods, doesn't say anything.
So I'm assuming we're having this discussion at night then. This is the discussion?
Sure.
I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jarral's gonna, prompt Tove. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, she kind of looks to each of you as she's kind of spooning some stew that she was eating, and she gives you a shake of the head no, and she says, unfortunately, my knowledge is mostly around the Silvery Moon area, as that's where I was raised and have been stationed most of my life. Though I know we've made excursions into the Evermoors, I've not really been to the west side of the Evermoors. So I would not be a good source of information now that we're this far west.
Okay. Does anybody need to get any supplies or anything before we head out? I need to get some clothes.
Still pretty good.
Cold weather clothes. So shall we just not explore, but ask around town in the morning? Just try and find out if there's a place or somebody that might have a good idea about river transportation down to Nesme, or the best way to get to Nesme. And Jarral can ask that as well as he's, shopping for his clothes that he needs.
Edrim nods. Certainly, that seems a fine idea.
All right, we could meet up here at lunch or noontime or something, and then plan our way. So I'm guessing we're kind of losing a day, or at least a half a day, just to kind of find the best way to get down there.
Okay.
So yeah, we're on the morning of the third day. Nothing happens that night. Those of you that have your own room, you can sleep in your own room. I believe Tove also gets her own room. And then yeah, after dinner, and she doesn't she waits, has conversation with you, sitting with you guys that evening, but looks for a polite opportunity to say goodnight and then head up to her room pretty quickly. She doesn't stay down too long. And then you guys, for those of you that are in the common room, there's only a few beds taken. It does not seem to be quite a few. It seems like there's a few merchants here, and they have taken a couple of the rooms. There's a couple of guards from those merchants. they might be passing through or something. And there's a couple of those people in the room. But other than that, pretty uneventful. You guys wake up and you're on your third day in the morning.
Okay.
All right.
Um,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if nobody needs him to do anything, Edrim will walk around Rivermoot a little bit and see if they have like either livestock areas or a large park or anything like that.
Okay. All right, and everybody else?
Jarral's going to go shop for a heavy cloak, just for cold nights.
Yeah, there's several merchant buildings that are here. There's a couple of like lion's share coster kind of places. There's a couple of places that are more like sell blacksmith stuff, leather kinds of stuff, leather working kinds of stuff, carpentry, that kind of stuff. And you're able to find so you'd be able to find like a winter style stuff probably for about 5 silver. Nothing crazy.
All right, you grab that. Is there what is the cost of a crossbow and quiver of crossbow bolts?
Well, you could check around. It's in here somewhere. So yeah, at one of the outfitters, which is more of like kind of like a general store kind of thing, where it has a little bit of everything. It has camping gear, survival gear, a few weapons that obviously look like they were sold from, they were used, but then they were bought, cleaned, and being resold type thing. So there are 1 or 2 light crossbows here. You can go ahead and make a persuasion roll to see what kind of price you can get.
So, stupid question. What's the difference between a hand crossbow and a light crossbow?
Size.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm proficient in a hand crossbow. So I think that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, you do not see any hand crossbows here. You see
Okay.
light crossbows. They're meant to be used two-handed. It's put up to your shoulder and fired, and then reloaded using your 2 hands. Whereas a hand crossbow can be used almost similar to almost like a pistol in a way, and can usually be reloaded with just 1 hand. Whereas like the light crossbow, you're using 2 hands to pull the string up to reload it type thing. The only thing that they have here are light crossbows.
This is in this town or in the coster?
In Rivermoot. Yeah.
Okay.
You could look around and you could go to a shop or 2 and you're not seeing. A hand crossbow is going to be a very unique item. It's going to be at bigger towns, and even there, it's a very uncommon style of weapon. There are not a lot of them around. It's not common.
Okay. So it was more for utility than anything.
And it's definitely a favored weapon of the drow. So they would have tons of them. But that's not as common for most.
Okay. So he's going to check out a couple of shops, and as he's in each of those shops, he's going to ask about river transport and what their estimation would be the best way to travel to Nesme.
Yeah, so you talked to the first human proprietor. It's the same person that you bought the cloak from, and maybe you were looking at the crossbows and you had asked about do they have any others, and he kind of gave you the nod of nope, what you see is what we have. We don't really have anything like when you mention a hand crossbow, he kind of shakes his head. And then you mention Nesme, and he kind of looks at you quizzically, and he's like, well, he's like, by boat, it probably, is just over a day travel, maybe a day and a half's travel, but I would doubt you would find anybody that would take you there. You would probably have to buy a boat if you were going to be going to Nesme.
That is surprising.
He says, yeah. After it was destroyed, there's not too many people head down there. But he looks at you because he can tell your, adventurers go all over the place. So it's not. He doesn't think it's weird that you want to go there, but he thinks it's weird that you're asking somebody else to take you there.
Does that? I guess does Jarral kind of get that impression that he's
yeah.
Okay, all right.
You get
so
the impression that it's like, it's going to be. He even says that. He says to you, it'd be hard for you to convince somebody to take you to Nesme, but you certainly could buy a boat and day and a half travel be there.
Okay, so there's no travel up and down the river to. He kind of glances at his map just to say Yarthar.
Down to Yarter.
Yes.
Yeah, there is some travel that has gone, but there's been quite a bit of strife along the river. So Nesme is currently in ruins, and they haven't had any shipments come from Yarter in quite a while. And the Rivermoot don't typically. They're mostly fishermen, cattle, farmers, and such. Though they may trap for some furs and things from and some of the minerals from the mountains. They've got some prospectors that'll bring minerals from the mountains, but most of that trade goes down the Ralvin Road to past Sivemorven Hall, which protects them from the Evermoors, over to Silvery Moon is where their trade goes. Their trade typically doesn't head down to those areas because Nesme was, and he realizes that maybe you don't know.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do we know what happened to Nesme, or has anybody given us any clues onto that?
No, so he kind of sees
Okay.
that you probably don't know, and yeah, he says, Nesme fell many years ago during the War of the Silver Marches to the hordes of orcs that had made it all the way this way. As the legend goes, he says, terrible, terrible days, dragons in the skies, orcs everywhere, everything just being laid to waste. They tried to rebuild Nesme after that was finally the War of Silver Marches was over, but then the Drow attacked it and conquered it. Though they were forced out at that point, and it kind of laid in ruins as it had been laid to siege, and they were finally defeated. A few times I have heard that those have tried to go back and build Nesme, but each time something happens or something attacks it, or whether it comes from the Evermoors or it's the Uthgardt barbarians that come across the hills and plains, that at this point it's just a ruins. At this point, the town no longer exists.
What is the inflection when he says the Drow attacked it?
Probably more just like it's a story he's heard.
Okay.
Not necessarily anything like it wasn't his family was there or he saw it or witnessed it or anything like that. He's more the information he's giving you sounds more like a vague, detailed recounting of how the history's gone. Obviously, there's probably a lot more that has gone on, but this is like this is the typical information you do get from somebody who's heard gossip or heard stories type thing.
So I guess Charles is just gonna ask if he has any, can he refer us to, or is there anybody he would recommend us talking to that would be familiar with travel, southwest of Nesme?
Yeah, he's like in Rivermoot. I'm not sure any of the merchants will head down that way. There's the danger's just too much. The trade goes to Silvery Moon, and then from there
Okay.
it can move on. And he was even worried. He kind of even has a look of. We've heard that Zymorvan Hall has been taken over by giants, but a group came through a day ago and told us that Zymorvan Hall has been recaptured and that the Silvery Moon Guard have begun to rebuild. So that has been a relief to everybody in Rivermoot.
He'll say we just came from that direction, and I can confirm this.
Yeah, you see relief on his face because he's obviously his trade and the goods that he gets and sells and does stuff comes from Zymorvan Hall and Silvery Moon.
Okay, so Jarral's is going to spend the next couple places just kind of asking similar questions and just trying to find out if there's anybody that would have, maybe not a merchant, but maybe there's somebody with a reputation that has had dealings in that direction southwest, that may have an idea. He's not asking everybody, but a couple of places just to see if they have contacts that might know what's the best way to travel beyond Nesme.
Yeah, you're not finding anybody that travels down that river.
Okay.
You're fine. What you run into is a lot of.
Do I get any information about the Subran Trail?
No.
Okay.
Nope. You can tell Rivermoot is a place of the people that live here have lived here for a while. They're not a lot of transplants. There's not a lot of travel. These are not people that leave this area much. They're fisher, so they fish around this river and area. Everybody tries to stay away from the Evermoors because there's just so much trouble that comes out of the Evermoors that regular folk, if they travel, they stay on the roads and they travel in guarded caravans. They don't just go, exploring in the Evermoors on their own or anything like that. There's no farms on the south side of the river. Nobody tries to get anywhere near that because it's just constant trolls and creatures that come out of there and raid settlements and people. So they stay away from it. This is a pretty
Did Harstag or anybody tell us to avoid the Evermoors?
No, the only thing he mentioned to you is to make sure that you're carefully avoiding Shining White and Griffin's Nest. Those would be Uthgardt Barbarian territories, and it would be best to avoid those, even though you probably could sneak through if you needed to. There's going to be a lot bigger of a chance of those barbarian tribes seeing you or finding you if you're closer to their areas, which is Shining White and Griffin's Nest.
Okay. Last question. I'll let somebody else take a run at it. What's the cost of a boat to sail down the river that would handle all four of us and our horses?
You'd have to ask around if anybody is selling their boat. And
don't worry. That will probably take all day, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay. Yeah. It would take a big boat to take horses, so it can't just be like a rowboat. Like if it was just you four, then a rowboat you could probably get away with, and that wouldn't be super expensive. But when you're saying we're going to take horses, that's an actual boat at that point, and that's significant.
Yeah. Okay. So Jarral will wrap up his stuff and head back to the tavern at noon. Is it like a bar tavern or is it just an inn?
No, it's a inn tavern. Yeah, so it has a a room where they're serving food and drink, and then they have rooms above the common tap room.
All right. So while Jarl's waiting, he's just gonna listen for rumors and stuff that might that's all.
Okay. Anybody else?
I
Drew
don't
will-
have a lot I wanted to do in town, so I am good right now.
Yep, same for Edrim.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Edrim, you're looking around town. Basically, what you see are in town. It's mostly a few stables at a couple of the inns that are here. On the outskirts of town, you can find some smaller farms that may have farm animals, but it's mostly a fishing village, fishing town more than anything. So you see lots of nets, lots of small fishing boats that go up and down the Subrin and the Ralvin River, but it doesn't look like they go very far. It's not like they're traveling days and days. They're just using what the bounty of the river to catch and then come back type thing. And it looks like it's a lot of trap stuff. So it looks like they put traps on the bottom of the river. And they go out each night, put them out, go back out, pick them up, and it looks like it's a pretty common thing. As far you're not really seeing groves or parks, or this isn't a city or a town. Okay. There's not even a temple here. Nothing like that.
He would probably stop at
Go ahead.
One of the stables at random, and maybe a nearby farm, and just kind of wander through, look at the animals, see how they're doing, assist them if they needed some.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're seeing anything. It's just regular farm. You just stables look like there's a few horses here and there. There's a merchant caravan that looks like it's about to move out and head. They've heard that Zymorvan Hall has been recaptured, so they're going to head out for the first time. They've been staying here in Rivermoot until they heard what had happened. And now they've been gathering together and getting their stuff together. So all their horses have been taken care of and groomed, and most of the stables are pretty empty, besides your guys' horses by the first couple hours in the morning.
Okay.
Rumors as far as things you might overhear people talking, and this is just anybody that's in the inn or overhearing while you're walking through town or whatever. The talk is mostly about rumors of Zymorvan Hall. There's kind of wild rumors going on about who attacked it, what happened to it, how destroyed it is. Some are like it's been completely razed, for every brick is gone, to no, it was some giants tried to take it, but they were defeated, and Silvery Moon has marched to save Zymorvan Hall. And then there's even some of the rumors you hear is about a group of adventurers are the heroes who had saved Zymorvan Hall. And so it's just kind of that kind of stuff, but it's all centered around what's happening to the east of them. You're not hearing anything about Evermoors. You're not hearing, nobody even says the word Nesme, at all. There's no rumors coming from there or about there. Everything seems to be centered from what's happening out to the east. And there seems to be a little bit of relief, or more relief, that everybody's been hearing the rumors spreading that Zymorvan Hall has been retaken and is being rebuilt. That it was obviously quite a bit of a scare for them when they heard that it had fallen to giants. That had sent quite a panic through Rivermoot. But now they feel better. And that's about it.
Okay. And make sure I'm back at the tavern for lunch.
Sure, yeah. You're all there at noon.
So, Jarl will just bring up that I have not heard anything about Nesme. There seems to be a lack of information about this place, and given the dangers that the townfolk have been telling us about the Evermoors, perhaps taking the river or following the river is not the best option. Perhaps we should give the river a wider berth and maybe swing back to the south after we pass the area where Nesme is.
It sounds like a good plan.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or we kind of do a hook down to the south.
Last time we came close to swamps, it didn't end so well.
Was I there for that?
I don't think so. I think that was the Great Tigray Ian debate. It ended in closeness to a swamp and many attacks.
So I'm kind of thinking
It would have been Ian and coffee.
something like
True.
that, and then follow the river down to the south. I don't know what I just did, but
You had Phil in your line.
okay. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay.
We also could grab the river that you were pointing at. So we could either go right across and follow that river down, or we could just follow the river on the north side, south of Nesme. Either one.
Well, I think if we're going to do it, we might as well take a wider berth of Nesme and stay a little bit away from the river.
Jarral will specifically ask Tove if she has any tactical experience, what her thoughts would be on that.
She says, yeah, if we were a formation of horse or foot soldiers marching, but just in a scouting mission, then it's typically the terrain over the plains isn't going to be any different than most of the roads for riding the horses. So staying away from the Evermoors is always a good idea.
Okay. So maybe instead of heading to the river where you have that Edrim, maybe we just go right down, split the two rivers and go right down the middle in the plains, and then meet where the rivers meet.
All right.
Yeah. Yep. Like that. Because I sort of agree. Like, if we follow the river, probably adding time to our travel because we're following the contour of the river. So maybe just kind of heading down the plains is probably the best way.
Okay. So you guys set out?
Yeah. I mean, unless anybody has any other thoughts.
No, I think we might as well head out towards the hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
do we
you're able
need to pay a passage across the river? I guess.
no, there's a ferry here, and they are willing to take you guys across. They know you're from Zymorvan Hall, so they recognize the badge that Tove wears, and so they're going to take you across the river, and they'll put you on this other side here. And then, yeah, you guys are able to travel another half day at least. So you'll get about 12 miles before sun goes down.
Okay.
You'll make your camp. And then really it's you're going to travel several more days. Camp will go as normal. So we'll get to there. 20. So I'm just going to follow this line then. So this will be day. So that's another day. So that's another 2 days. Would get you to there. And a third day would get you to here. All right, so that makes sense. So you guys get to about here. And so that was the rest of the third day, fourth, and your fifth. You make camp. So on day 6, you are traveling. And what is Edrim's passive perception?
In lion form, it would be 13.
Okay.
And I have advantage on anything that's going to require a sense of smell.
Okay. And Brian, how late can you go?
Ideally 11ish.
Okay.
If that works okay. I probably could do 11:30, but
I was thinking 11, but okay.
okay, works for me.
All right. So you guys are kind of traveling through. It seems to be kind of a little bit of a wooded area that you're going through. And Edrim, which shape are you in currently?
Lion.
Lion? All right, let me grab that token. Where's Mr. Lion? There you are, Lion. Okay, put that on the map. You are scouting. Oh, wow, that's a big token. And we think a lion takes up 4 squares? What's it? Does it list it as a medium or is it listed as bigger? Let's look.
It is size medium.
Size medium. So I think that's just a regular square then.
Is this during camp or is this during travel?
This is during the day.
Okay, because I think Jarral's in the lead, right?
Probably. Yeah. But
Yep.
Edrim kind of does circles around the group. So at times he's ahead of you.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's give this to Edrim. So I'll set this up a little bit because I wasn't quite sure where you guys were going to be. Let me see. Edrim, there he is. Edrim mini Paws. There we go. Advanced has sight. I don't think he needs anything else besides that. And you guys want to be able to see bar 2, I believe. All right. So, Edrim, you are on a map. You're actually out. You've made a circuit, and you're out a little bit ahead of where Jarral is. And the group, I'll put these. The rest of the group is back along here. You guys are traveling south. And I'll move you to the map here real quick. Here we go. So let that load in a moment while I assign some tokens. This is going to be Mr. Ardreth. There you go. Advanced has sight and bar 2. It's during the day. Let's have Ardreth give us a 1d6 roll to tell us what the weather is going to be today on this day. This is your 6th
I don't know
day.
if I want that responsibility.
Can't do any worse than we've done.
Don't be so sure. Oh, I got a critical.
Hey!
It's a crit.
Did you get a 6?
No, it was a 5.
5? Yeah, so it's a clear day. No rain.
Comparatively a crit.
No clouds in the sky. It is still cold, but it's a clear, sunny day out at this point. And we need Jarral to be able to see, and I think it's bar 2. There we go. All right. That should allow you guys to put in your stuff. This is Tove. And I think that's all I need there. Let's do a roll for stealth. All right, so this is nope. Take just a second. Here we go. All right, so I need. Oh, that's not going to be very good. So let's do that roll. No, okay. So yeah, they're not gonna surprise you. So Edrim, you realize that you are moving southwards. You're doing kind of a clockwise circle at the moment. You're out ahead of the group. It just happened to be this way that you're out ahead, and you're making kind of a circle motion that you can see on the map. And you realize that trying to hide, but not doing a very good job of it. I need to grab just a couple tokens here. Give me one more second. Are two hill giants who appear to be trying to... They see you, and you even hear them say, one says to the other, shh, they're coming. We'll get them when they pass by. And it almost seems like they don't realize, they haven't, they think they're hidden. What they're trying to hide behind some brush and trees. And I'll show you where they are here as I bring their token over.
Okay.
They're trying to hide. Oh, did I do that right? I bet I didn't. Shoot. Token sheet. Nope, not you. There you are. It's a Control C, not an Alt C. That makes all the difference. All right, so they are trying to hide here. And I believe they are considered this and here. And they think they're hiding behind these trees, but they are doing a terrible job of it, of hiding behind these two trees. And they were thinking your group was going to walk past them. So they see you, and you have the impression that they don't think you see them, but you know they're there.
Okay.
And so no surprise. It looks like they were trying to surprise you. They weren't able to do it. And we can go ahead and we can roll initiative if you guys select your tokens and roll initiative.
And are they aware that I'm there?
Yeah, they're looking right at you.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just think I'm actually a lion.
Yeah,
Is that
well,
correct?
and you heard them say, we'll let them pass by and we'll attack them. Whispering it to each other, which is also one of the reasons it gave it away of where they were trying to hide themselves. But you also see the big bulk behind the trees also. And then we also need our character. We need... and you see... And one of them will say... they look and it's like, why is that lion coming closer? and the other one's like, lion tastes good. Eat lion. I think we don't need that. I just need her. All right, so let's get her initiative. Normal, yep. That'll be... Oh, but did I not select her token?
I rolled a 16, by the way. Not a 12.
Oh, did it not? not show up?
No, I rolled it from my character sheet instead of from the token.
Okay. And now let me get her. There we go. Zoom in so we can see. Perfect. Look on the stream. Let's put. Oh, come on, map. These big maps. There we go. Okay. So I see Ardreth, Jarral, Edrim, Hill Giant, and she rolled 15. I don't know why it says .15, but let's add her in. So label, and let's go ahead and put in Tovi. She got a 15.
And what time of day is
Midday.
Okay. So mid-afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so they are holding their action at this point. And so the next person can go with Ardreth. You probably don't see anything yet. So we'll just keep this turn order. Let's move to Edrim. What are you going to do? They're holding their action. They're not doing a surprise attack or anything, so you get to react at this point.
Okay. I'm going to kind of continue my circuit. You said I was going clockwise. So I think 50 feet was about there. And I will.
So you start moving back, is what you're saying?
Yes. Well, you said I was going in a clockwise circle. So
yeah.
That. So I kind of just cut it short and I head kind of directly north.
Okay.
And
okay.
When Jarral notices me, I will give maybe a moderate growl, yes.
Okay, Jarral, you hear a growl. You see Edrim, but you do not see the giants yet.
Do I see Edrim walking toward me?
Well, he's moving pretty fast. That was his entire single turn movement. So that's a pretty brisk trot.
But he's facing me, right?
Dash though, did you?
I did not dash.
All right, so yeah, it's not like it's like a regular movement. It's not a run.
Okay, but he's kind of facing me when he's doing that, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Jarral sees the lion kind of coming toward him with a growl, and Jarral's going to squint his eyes and kind of shrug his shoulders and say, "What?" He doesn't. He's confused. He doesn't know what the growl was for.
Are you stopping, or are you going to continue to move your regular movement forward?
I'm going to continue moving. Just as normal.
Yeah. So go ahead and move 40 feet would be your normal, unless you're going to stop.
I actually have 55 feet.
But you're on a horse, right?
Oh, yeah, I am on a horse.
All right, so yeah, you're doing.
Okay, it's 5, 10, 15.
It's just a walk.
Are these
Riding
obstructions
horse.
or?
Riding horse movement is 60 feet. So you can go 60 feet riding horse. Regular move. Yeah, the squares are should be right.
These leaves are on the. Yeah, are the leaves like?
They're bushes.
So I'd probably go around them, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't. Well, I don't think
Okay.
you'd take your horse through them. No, you could if you wanted to.
30, 35, 40, 45, 50. 55. All right, so you take him down to here.
Okay. And what's
Um,
your passive perception at that point?
My passive is. I think it's 15. It says 10 for some reason on my character sheet, but I'm pretty sure it's 15. I think it was calculating something wrong. It should be 15.
Okay. So have you moved?
No. 1, 2. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as you get to there, you recognize basically the bulk of two large creatures. They clearly are trying to hide behind a tree that is smaller than they are as far as width wise. The trees are much taller than them, and they're hiding behind them as if you don't see them, but you clearly see the sides of them poking out from the sides of the trees.
Do I see, do I note that they, I mean, I guess, do I get the sense that they think they're still hidden and they don't see me?
They seem to be peeking out around the tree every couple of seconds, or a little bit. So it's like they poke out a little bit to look to see where you are, and then they duck back behind, as if their body language is they don't think you see them, is the body language you're getting.
Okay. If so, my action, I can use a dash, right?
Sure.
Now the dash, does that appear as like I'm running, or is that basically the same movement that I just had?
A dash would be you would be kicking the horse into a run at that point. That would be a dash.
Okay. So if they're still there, I'm going to. So as I'm approaching, I'm going to turn the horse in the same direction that Edrim just went. Now that I'm understanding what the growl was for, and I'm gonna make it look as if I'm turning to basically follow the same pattern that Edrim just did.
All right. So as you turn, go ahead and make a perception check.
Okay.
13. Yeah. Okay. So you hear a couple of the voices. They are trying to communicate with each other in a way that they think you're not going to hear them, but you do hear them. You do hear what they say, and the one on the left says to the other one, they're not coming closer. We're going to miss out on our dinner. And the other one kind of puts his hand, the one on the right kind of moves his hand out from the side of the trunk to tell him, wait, we don't want to spook them. And they're clearly watching you as you turn your horse.
Okay. So I'm going to basically have the horse sideways, I guess, and if I see anybody coming in the direction that I'm coming and they can see me, I'm just gonna try and conceal my hands just to kind of say, just whoa, stop. It's just a hand signal.
Yeah, I would say at that same point, Ardreth and Tove would have went their 60 feet in about the same time you're making your 60 feet. So Ardreth, go ahead and move 60 feet, and I'll put Tove next to you as you do it.
I think it's right there. 5, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't ride through the bush.
I wasn't sure if that was a tree or a bush.
Yeah, it's bushes on the ground. You'd avoid
Okay.
it. Okay, so right there's the 60. Yeah, so
Tove knew they weren't bushes.
You two,
She's much smarter than I am. She's a knight after all, so that's why she knows it.
Great. Yeah. They see you turn. Maybe they didn't hear the growl. They're closer to Edrim now, who is much closer. And what are you going to do, Jarral?
So once I see them kind of approaching and they're kind of around Edrim, I'm just gonna kind of give them a hand signal to whoa, and hopefully they'll be able to piece that and the growling together.
Okay. Yeah. So Tove pulls up on her reins, and you can see her slowly begin to pull the sword out of the scabbard that's along the side of the horse, and she begins to look around.
Okay. Whose turn is it?
They're holding their action, so you guys are kind of free to act at the moment, but they're holding their action and waiting for a certain thing to happen before they go.
All right, so I'm going to, sort of be facing them.
Yeah, my assumption right now is that you're sideways.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna try and give some more hand signals to them, to Ardreth and Tove. To indicate 2, the number 2, and just kind of thumb in the direction where they are, and I don't know how to indicate giants, so I'm just gonna two enemies in south.
Can we see them at all at this point?
No, not quite.
Okay.
I am going to fall in on the other side of Tove, and I will advance with them.
Okay. Tove's watching Ardreth, and she's got the weapon slung kind of low. She's done it quietly and softly, but she does have her sword in hand, and she's waiting to see what Ardreth is doing.
I'm actually not going to pull my bow because I'll probably go right to a spell.
All right. Jarral, you hear some more whispering, and he's like, I don't think they're coming. We should attack. And the other one's still holding his hand out, and he's like, wait, they're going to come. I know they're coming. They're trying to whisper, but you're catching some of it.
I will move up a little bit and see if...
What are the languages you speak, Jarral?
Jarral speaks Common, Elvin, Undercommon, Draconic, and Giant. So I do understand them.
Okay.
So I'm going... Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm going to advance a little and see if Tove follows. And if she does not, I will go back up to where Jarral is.
Yeah, I was going to indicate to them to kind of move toward me, but slowly.
I will do that.
Yeah, Tove follows Ardreth at this point. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't recognize. She kind of gets your 2 hand signals, but it's clear that you guys haven't really set up a communication thing here. So yeah, she just follows Ardreth.
I don't think we ever had a communication thing.
Maybe something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And so they're within If I was to whisper to them, would the giants hear?
You don't know.
They're like 10 feet away. I'm assuming with my voice going that direction, they would not hear. So I'm going to whisper as softly as I can. Two giants. They're hiding. They think we don't see them. They're waiting for us to advance.
Should we go around them or stay and fight?
I lack any sort of tactical, so I will yield to. You know what? Jarl's gonna look to Tove and just kind of look questioningly. What would you recommend?
Yeah. Tove looks at you guys and is like, "Hey, this adventuring stuff is you guys. I'm here to follow and to help out." Is the look you get back. You get the feeling that she's not going to make decisions for you guys. You guys have to make your decisions. She's here to follow and help out.
All of our battle people are in the other party.
That's why I'm not quite sure we want to take on two giants.
That's the fun. Role play it out. I mean, these are the characters. You've got what you've got.
So they can see us over these trees that we're kind of behind right now?
You're pretty sure they've seen you.
Yeah, so what is the likelihood that, you know, we could hop from tree to tree and just kind of lose them?
Yeah, you have no gauge on that. There's nothing that. All you know is you can try it or you can not try it.
Based on past experience, do we have any idea of how fast the giant can travel?
You know how fast? Well, typically you've seen fire giants. You've fought ogres. You've fought trolls.
Wasn't their ranges about the same as ours?
Yeah, they're pretty comparable.
Okay, so we would be able to outrun them in horses.
Yeah, well, you've never had giants chasing you. You guys have always went right at them. Let me put it that way.
So while
That's
we
been
sit
your
here
experience.
and try to figure out what we're gonna do, I'm gonna throw call lightning out at them.
Okay, so you're not actually seeing them quite yet.
Oh, okay.
You're still
Jarral's
getting
like,
information from Jarral, but you're not.
Gotcha.
You haven't.
I wasn't
seen
sure if
them.
I could see him hiding behind that tree
Yeah,
right
no,
there.
you haven't seen it yet.
All right.
Charles' eyes would have gone wide.
Edrim knows where they're at because he saw them.
I was gonna
originally.
settle it for us and get it over with.
But I mean, he can indicate kind of the general direction, and you can start casting a spell.
He could be my forward observer.
Does Ardreth give any outward sign that he's considering an attack or readying a spell?
Well, I had whispered back to Jarral, do we want to stay and fight or do we want to flee?
Yes, but after that, you were thinking about casting a spell. Did you physically do anything to indicate you were casting a spell?
If I don't know where they're at, I wouldn't have gone down that road. I thought I could actually tell where they were at. So.
Okay.
So he wouldn't know I have an itch to throw a spell out here.
So Charles he's gonna look to the south, see the giants. He's gonna look back at Ardreth, and then he's gonna look at each of the party members in turn and suggest that I don't think we are in a position to take on two giants. Not cowardice, but common sense. I think we should give them a wide berth to the west.
And let's have Edrim and Ardreth make perception rolls now.
Anything to do with smell?
Nope, it's hearing. Yeah, so you're hearing Jarral, the noise of the tack and the harnesses of the two horses that are kind of shifting position here and there is drowning out you hearing anything else. What about Edrim? Okay, so Edrim and Jarral, you still have your perception check. So Edrim and Jarral hear the whisper, I think the lion's their pet. And the other one says, I have dibs on eating the lion. Wait for it.
Edrim growls again. That's the only thing he does.
They're still waiting.
Charles is gonna say don't. And I think we should continue on our way to the west. And if there's no objections, Jarl is going to he's going to start trotting the horse kind of in this direction. And then once he sees that everybody's once he's noticed that everybody's kind of following that the same direction, then he's going to bolt basically this way and then kind of that way.
I will follow him. I'll take up the rear this time.
And I'll follow as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
so move the one direction before you actually make a turn. So you're going to get to there before you make some type of turn.
I want to make sure that even though we're heading west, that we're heading at least closer, sort of.
That's where you went, Ardreth?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So at that point, you guys get to that point, and Ardreth's horse has gone back a couple of squares here, and our hill giants will react at that point. So they're going to use their action, and now we'll be at the top of the turn order.
No. Dang it.
Yeah, as they see you are no longer coming forward and you've moved slightly back. That is what their hold action was, and we see the first rock. So you see the giant kind of just lean out. Or actually, they're not going to lean out. They're going to charge forward here. They're going to go around the tree 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Stupid giants.
40.
We could probably still run.
Oh, I'm planning on it. Unless one of us got hit and pulls an Ian.
All right, and so rock number 1 shoots out towards Jarral, and rock number 2 is going to go towards Mr. Edrim, our lion. So first one.
He's going to tenderize the lion before he eats it.
All right, so a 16. Oh, and there's one thing that we didn't talk about. The paladin has the +2 ring. That happened after the day that Jarral left, but nobody had indicated that those things were magic items were moved around after Jarral had come back. Just so you know.
So Tove has it?
No. The paladin Finn has the Finn has the +2 ring.
Oh, Finn.
Did Jarral get anything out of that one?
which he originally he did, but then when he went on the personal business, he gave the ring
That's right.
to Finn, they were continuing, and who has used it quite a bit to good effect. And I don't know if anybody put any other magic items on Jarral or not. I thought the way that we had done it is that Jarral had offered the group the magic items, knowing that they were still going to face the giants, and that he was going to do something personal. He gave them those items.
Okay, I have it still in my inventory, so I should remove that.
Probably, yeah, because I don't think anybody messed with your character sheet.
All right, so that would make me at. So he threw a rock at me.
Yeah, one at. Actually, let's do this too, because it's going to. Let's do one. Let's do a roll 1d6. So 1, 2, 3, the rock is coming for Jarral. 4, 5, 6, it's coming for Jarral's horse. Roll 1d6. Oh, it's actually going to hit the horse. So you see the rock coming.
Thank you.
And it smashes into your horse, and your horse is down. You are going to need to make an athletics roll or acrobatics. I'd let you do either one, athletics or acrobatics, to see. Yeah, you're able to jump, clear, and gain your footing as your horse is taken out. And we have a dead horse now in front of you. And I'll just put a little, that's a shame. I didn't want to kill a horse. Oh, these evil. We'll just put it
No
like this.
kidding.
You're going to get in trouble with the Screen Actors Guild for that one.
Probably. We'll put the disclaimer in that no real horses were harmed in the making of this episode.
Pete is hunting you down.
So there's a horse now that has been rocked by a rock. Instant death. And Jarral has sprung free on his feet. Let me just make sure they don't have that many hit points. I don't think they do. No. Yeah. No. That's instant death. Okay.
Is Edrim rideable?
No.
Dang it. Okay.
And Edrim, to finish off their turn, rock comes towards you. And they roll a 14.
That'll hit.
24 bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
Snap.
And you see them charging forward with a great club in one hand, and they've just thrown these rocks that they had in the other hand. And they're howling like a battle cry of some sort, and you see them kind of charging forward. That would bring us to... we could probably do one turn here, and then we could call it. So, Ardreth.
All right, at this point, we're calling in some lightning then.
Jarral yells, "Run!"
You can't run. You're not on a horse anymore, Jarral.
Jarral can hop onto Tove's horse, and she can run. Or he can try to.
What would Ardreth do?
At this point, with that horse just going down, Jarral can't run faster than giants, and they're going to be right up on her butt. So I'm calling in some lightning.
All right. So
Call it right dead smack in the center of them, so right over top of that tree.
Okay.
And I think because I can only hit one, it's 3 die 10 if they fail their save. It's a dex throw.
Okay. So each one needs to make a dex save against your DC.
Yeah, but I think it can only hit one of them. Oh,
Oh.
because it's each creature within 5 feet.
Oh, so
And since
you've
they're
gotta
not
pick
close
one.
enough, I can only
Oh,
pick
gotcha.
one.
Yeah, so pick
But
which
the
one.
storm itself is actually
Right. That makes
has a
sense.
60-foot radius.
Yeah.
So it'll encompass both of them, but I can only hit one at a time. I'll hit the one closest to us. So the
Okay.
one on the left.
All right. So here's a dex roll. Rolls a 15. What's your DC on your spell?
14.
Okay, so he'll get half damage from lightning. So a bolt of lightning sears out of this storm that you've called up and strikes the lead one as he runs. Ooh, still hits hard. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What I did mean to do is this. And you see a big scorching mark on the top of his shoulder as this big, thick lightning bolt crashes down from the clouds. That it was a clear sky, and these roiling clouds just form up from your magic. Now, you have no special ability as far as riding and casting and fighting from horseback, so you've cast. You can't really go anywhere at this point on your horseback. You can't ride and cast.
I do have
you can either
animal
jump
handling.
off or, yeah.
Animal handling doesn't let you still proceed away.
No, you would need training to be able to do your spell. Requires verbal and semantic. Okay. You couldn't be bouncing on the back of a horse at a gallop trying to do this spell, so that just wouldn't work.
Okay. And it can't even be at a trot or a slow walk.
Right. Yeah, you can't be holding on to the reins and trying. You don't have that training. Now, if you had some type of training, there's some feats that let you do some of that stuff. Like Finn has skills that let him do those kinds of things, but not you normal.
Okay.
As an example, the knight, she has skills to be able to fight while mounted.
Gotcha.
And she can do those things, but it's special skills and training. So that brings us to Jarral.
Question real quick though. Do I get a bonus action?
Yes. Yep.
So question on that. I got the lion still.
Yeah.
Can that be launched on a bonus action?
An action is an interaction to pull out something you have in a pouch or a belt or something and then do something with it.
Would be an action.
You have a free interaction to grab it and it's now in your hand. To actually use it is your action. It's not a bonus action. So you can have it in your hand and it's ready to go.
Gotcha.
For next turn, and you don't have to interact with getting it out.
Okay. But I can do Bardic Inspiration on Jarral with it.
Okay, so we'll give Jarral Bardic Inspiration. We'll give you, how about that one? And remind him what he gets for that because he may not remember.
I don't think I've ever had it.
So, well, now that we're a small party, everybody can get it. It's basically, I just put it in chat. So what it'll give you is you can have an attack, ability, or saving roll over the next 10 minutes. And I am now, what level are we these days? 6th level. So it will be a die 8.
So I can roll an additional D8 if I need it.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yep, on an attack, an ability, or
attack,
a saving
ability,
roll.
or saving roll.
Yeah. And you can wait. I think Bardic Inspiration is the one where you can wait to see what you roll first. And then you can choose to use it. You don't have to declare you're using it before you make your roll.
Cool.
That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Jarl's turn.
Let me ask a question. It doesn't make sense, but by the rules, it does. So I have deflect missiles. You can use your reaction to deflect or catch the missile when you are hit by a ranged weapon attack. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced to 1d10 plus the dexterity mod plus monk level.
Yep.
If you catch a missile in this way, you can spend 1 key point to make a ranged attack with the weapon or piece of ammunition you just caught as part of the same reaction.
Yep.
I make this attack with proficiency.
Yeah.
You make this attack with proficiency, regardless of weapon of proficiencies, and the missile counts as a monk weapon for the attack, which has a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
Okay, so I can use that if I need to.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Hopefully,
Yeah,
I don't need
these
to.
rocks are probably...
So they're not boulders.
They're a little bit bigger than your head. So it's like they're
Okay.
maybe throwing... what would be a good analogy? Probably bigger than a watermelon, or at least a large watermelon, or a very large pumpkin, like one
Like
of
a
the
bowling
largest
ball
ones.
kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I'd say bigger than a bowling ball.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't be something you could hold in one hand. They are holding it in one hand. It's like a bowling ball to their size, but it's, their size is pretty big. But the way I would envision it, thematically, I guess, would be as one of these rocks is coming at you. Now the key is that you have to beat the damage on it. So let's say you do. Let's say they roll low on the damage, and it's in my mind what's happening is it threw it, but it didn't throw it very hard, thinking it was just you didn't need to, and you use both hands and like a body spin to catch it and try to redirect it, and you're not going to be able to throw it anywhere near as hard or as fast, or it's just like a regular dart damage for you, right? Because it's not going to hit them very hard. But you are correct. If you can beat their damage, it's at least it's not 24 points hitting you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't. Can I take a are these trees hideable behind like these ones here, or are they like too?
You can get partial cover, sure.
I get partial cover.
You probably won't get full cover.
All right, so I'm going to then 10, 15, 20. I'm going to go 25 back here.
Okay, so I'll give you partial cover. You'll get a +2 to your let's take
AC.
a look. Yeah, let's look at cover. There might be another. So we got combat
there's a couple of different levels, I think.
I would give you 3/4. You would get a +5 to AC.
Okay. All right, so that's
from a ranged attack. If they just run up, they're just going to club you.
Right. So I'm gonna hold my action, and if they do come close, where they are within melee range, I'm going to attempt to. I don't think I can do that as an action. No, you know what? I'll attack.
Action, yeah. So you can do a regular action. You can't do, or you can say I'm going to hold a skill or something, but it has to be pretty specific to your trigger. Yeah,
I'm kind of thinking martial arts, just kind of hopping up on the guy, but he's a hill giant. He's big. Yeah, I'll attack if they get within melee range.
Okay. So Tove has seen you say run, but you've moved to the tree. She's seen Ardreth cast, and his horse has stopped. She is going to charge the giant.
Damn!
I think that's what she's
badass.
So
we got another Ian. No mercy.
No, Ian would have shot him from behind me.
40, 45. So she can get to there. She's on her horse. She's staying on her horse. And she's going to go ahead and engage the first hill giant that was struck by lightning. So let's bring up Tove. And you see her great sword is she's got it kind of slung back and up over her head as she charges forward. The horse she's not even using the reins at this point. You can tell she's dropped those, but the horse is going where she asks it to go. And then you see her greatsword held aloft high above her head as she charges in. And she, let's see, this would be, so you see her sword flash once, twice, and 3 times.
Yes.
Hitting each time as
Nice.
she crashes into it. So the first one,
We're not worthy.
yeah, she hammers it. Second
Damn.
one, hammers it. And the third one.
Damn, Gina. Holy crap.
Okay, so that is a whole bunch of damage.
28,
It's like
40.
58 points, right?
I'm in love.
Is it the 14 plus 6,
50,
the 12 plus 8, and the 14 plus
58.
4?
Yeah, 58.
Yeah, 58.
Oh, so you see giant rending
What?
gashes happen on this hill giant who lets out a howl and is beginning to swing its great club towards Tove. And she fiercely stands in front of it, helmet on, plate armor gleaming, sword, blood all over it as she's whipping it back up around her head. The horse is kind of dancing with the hill giant. So as the hill giant stumbles forward or stumbles left or right, the horse matches its movements. And that brings us to Edrim. Finish us off for tonight. What does our lion do?
Well, he only has 2 hit points left. So he is going to take a bonus action, revert to human form, get all of his hit points back, and then conjure animal.
All right, so bonus action is the shift.
Yep.
Let me grab your token. Where is Edrim's token? I think I didn't have it, so I was using Armel's, I think. So let me just bring in Armel for now. I don't think...
Okay.
Did you get your new portrait done for Edrim?
Not yet. Marista is still trying to finish it up.
All right, so you were there. You have that token.
Yep.
Let me give you control of it so that you can make your cool stuff. I'm gonna leave the lion there, but we'll just pretend it's not there. So because if I get rid of it, it'll drop your roll, and we'll just leave it right there with you, even though we know you're in human form at the moment. And let's do an E for Edrim, which will get us close to Edrim mini paws. There you are. Advanced has sight. Bar 2 if you guys want to fill that stuff out. There you go. All right, you should have control of your... And actually what I'm going to do is... No, I'm just going to leave them. Yeah, I'm just going to leave them. It won't matter. Put them to the side. All right, so we see the bonus action transformation. And what's it look like when Edrim turns back into human form? We've heard what it looks like when you kind of turn into animal form, but give us the reverse of that.
Well, in either case, it happens exceptionally fast. This is his specialty. So it's almost too fast to catch. 1 minute there's a lion there. The next, the very next second, it's Edrim.
Okay.
And it's so fast that there isn't much of a transition between the two.
All right. So now you have movement and regular action still left.
So his action is going to be a conjure animal spell.
Okay.
And I'm going to try for 1 beast of challenge rating 2. And I think that would include like a brown bear or something like that.
So 1 beast of challenge rating 2 or lower. Each beast is also considered fey. It disappears when it drops to 0. They're friendly to you. We get to roll initiative for you. Okay, so let me do this. Let me bring up...
Brown bear would be challenge rating 1.
Let's do...
Black bear would be 1/2.
D 5E. And we're going to do monster list by challenge rating. Because I know I've looked at one. There was a good one I've been using. Is it this one? All right, so where's 2? Where's 2? Where's 2? Challenge rating 2. And it has to be an animal. All right, so let's see what we got here. We've got at least...
Does it have to be animal? It says beasts.
Right, but yeah, it's like it can't be like a knoll or, you know, a giant or a monstrosity like a gargoyle. Or
Right,
it's got to be
right.
a creature of the woods. All right, so I'm seeing 3 good candidates in the challenge rating 2 area. So why don't you give me a roll of 1d6, and so 1 2 will be one of them, 2 3 will be the other one, and 4 5 will be the last one, because I don't think you get to choose. I think the DM chooses. So okay, so you get this. You get, interesting enough, we've had that before, you see a giant elk materialize. This one right here. Control C. It's a big elk. That's cool. Okay, so where are you going to want to put it? Does it summon next to you? Where does it say it summons? Range 60 feet. So you can put it anywhere within 60 feet. Where does it pop up? Where does it materialize out of nature? Go ahead and pin a square.
Right here.
Oh, that is majestic.
And a giant elk is this big.
In the Fey language, I will ask this giant elk to aid me in attacking the hill giant to the southeast.
Okay. So let's do this. Then the other thing we need to do is, okay, so that's what'll happen. We'll give it a initiative roll. So let me find giant elk just for a second. Giant elk. There it is. So give me a roll of initiative is going to be the dex. Of course, it's not listed. 16. So give me a roll of 1d20 plus 2. And Mr. Edrim. And that will be giant elk. Ooh, nice. So it's going to go 19. We're going to add that. We're going to put it at a 19. What I will do is I will create a character sheet for it. And actually what I'll do is I'll have, in the challenge rating 2 area, there is a giant boar, giant constrictor snake, giant elk. Those all seemed like in this forested area seem like a good fit. So maybe I'll make character sheets for those in case you try to use the spell again.
Okay.
And we'll have to on the fly do some of those, because that'll be a tough one to have all the tokens ready for. So maybe I'll come up with some random tables. I'll look online to see if we can find some random tables to use for that. Because you wanted just one creature, so I went as big a challenge as we could get since you only wanted the one creature.
Yep.
All right. So it's going to go at 19, which is going to be at the top of the order before them. It materializes.
The only other thing I was going to do was move.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I will move about there.
All right. Awesome. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I was hoping to get done a tiny bit earlier, but we got into combat and I wanted to see where that round went to give you guys an idea of what's going on. So just to wrap it up, we've got storm clouds overhead with lightning streaking through the clouds waiting to come crashing down. We've got our Silvery Moon Knight has charged forward on her warhorse, laying into a giant. We have Jarral's horse dead and bleeding on the floor of this small copse of trees. we have this cool, majestic giant elk, which has materialized from the ground. And it's even kind of made, like the fur is like, has a green tinge to it, as if almost some of the parts are made from nature more than they are of an actual elk. You get a very Fey spirit kind of feel from this thing. And it's beginning to gather itself to charge what it looks like the one of these giants. We've seen Edrim racing forward. We see Jarral seeking cover. And when we come back in a couple of weeks, we will see how this turns out and see where our group ends up. So that will be our session for tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed it. The next episode that you guys can watch will be on Monday night for our other team that is about to enter the halls of Eye of the Allfather. So there's still a few days ahead in the timeline. We'll get these guys caught up, and we'll do a good job of keeping them all on the same timeline as much as we can. I think it would have worked out had we not missed a Thursday. But I think we'll get back on track pretty quick. So, all right. Thanks for joining. For those of you that were in chat, I saw Sonic and I saw Badminton and I saw Graybeard was there for a while. PB might have been there. So for all those people, thanks for joining. Check out the VODs or the YouTube videos. And you can also check out MC Colonel does videos on YouTube, and he does some streaming over on, which one are you doing again?
Mixer, and I would like to thank Draco and Glammy for hanging out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in your chat. That's right. They said they'd be over in your chat. Yeah. That's right. So you can check out his channel for YouTube video stuff under MC Colonel. My channel is SirLucien for more video stuff. And thanks for our players for joining. And we will see you guys in the next one.
I think you forgot to mention that Toby gave Jarral a glance over her shoulder when she cut the giant apart, which the glance basically said, "Believe me now."
Yeah.